Spider-Man is a powerful character in Marvel, so it stands to reason that his foes are also formidable. Previously harassed by his classmates, Spider-Man developed incredible strength and agility and started fighting and defeating supervillains to defend his city. As someone who has never been taught to fight, he was forced to learn how to outsmart the usual criminals and bad guys who relied on brute strength. Well, we are very excited to share Spider-Man's villains and their powers. Eventually, during the course of his life as a superhero, Spider-Man encountered more powerful foes, several of whom had combat powers that stretched the wall crawler to his limits. When he was facing these individuals, he required all of his skills and spider sense to come out on top, defeating talented opponents with tenacity and a strong will. The majority of Spider-Man's enemies are just petty criminals, but several of them have acquired abilities for various reasons. While some of these individuals, such as Mysterio and Electro, would lose to an ordinary man in a bar in a fist fight, others are tremendously powerful. Moreland. Moreland is an eternal hunter of all animals who hunts heroes and villains from planets where these creatures exist. With his spider abilities, he has assassinated numerous individuals throughout the cosmos, including Black Panther. He has superhuman strength and endurance, as well as the capacity to absorb the life energy of others. Moreland has the ability to travel across time and space, and his mission is to find all spider totemic avatars. Moreland has extraordinary strength, which changes depending on what he's eaten lately and how potent that source was. With his own hands, he broke apart an adamantium net. He is said to be capable of lifting up 20 tons. Kraven the Hunter. Kraven is a skilled hunter who isn't afraid to take on a challenge. He is a guy who has vanquished every animal known to man, which is why he decided to put his abilities to test against Spider-Man. Kraven the Hunter has transformed his body into the ultimate weapon throughout the years, and he should always be the favorite to win in a fair fight against someone without superpowers. In addition, Kraven has defeated Spider-Man in a one-on-one battle. His knowledge of knives and other weapons aids him in any fight. Oh, obviously, he reappeared in a bizarre and confusing manner, but he was buried for a while. Kraven is also one of the most stylish villains ever. Kingpin. Wilson Fisk shared Tombstone's history in that he learned to fight as a young man before rising to become Kingpin of crime. He started bodybuilding as a kid and transformed his massive size into lean muscle. His physique is almost entirely made up of muscle, making him almost invincible in combat. Fisk is also a judo and hapkido black belt, as well as a sumo wrestler. He is a superior combatant than a conventional martial arts specialist like Norman Osborn because of his strength. Venom. Venom isn't as powerful as Carnage, but he's more controlled. Venom, whether it's Eddie Brock or Flash Thompson behind the symbiote, is a formidable combatant and a frequent source of trouble for Spider-Man. The symbiote is one of the most disciplined creatures on the planet, and its devotion to Brock and Thompson makes them a great match. Agent Venom, played by Flash Thompson, is an even greater combatant. He's a skilled military guy who exploited the Venom symbiote to create weapons that enabled him to be even more powerful. He is also a tactical genius, rendering him superior to Carnage in every combat. When it came to strength, Eddie's symbiote provided him with incredible abilities. As a human, he could lift 700 pounds. He could lift up to 70 tons as Venom in his normal form, and maybe more if Venom increased his bulk even further. Whew, that's really huge. Carnage. Because of their natural ability in warfare, symbiotes have an edge over almost all warriors. Carnage is less hazardous than Venom, but more so than most other symbiote heroes and villains on Earth. While Venom often needs assistance in beating Carnage, this is due to Carnage's high power levels, not their fighting abilities. Cassidy has incredible strength because of the symbiote, and it can easily lift 80 tons, which is more than Venom and Spider-Man combined, making it one of Spider-Man's most powerful adversaries. What happens when a serial murderer and a superpowered extraterrestrial team up? You receive a violent beast that haunts Peter Parker's dreams. Sandman. Sandman has been a formidable opponent since he was low-level crook known as Flint Marko. He became a virtually invincible combatant after gaining the power to convert his body into sand and harden it when required. He can utilize his sand abilities to make himself much more powerful than Tombstone. He is a competent enough fighter with his abilities to take on Marvel's finest heroes like The Thing and Hulk. And when the Spider-Man villain sought forgiveness, he also battled and defeated countless enemies. Sandman, when Flint Marko transforms into a large animated sand monster, can carry up to 85 tons under normal circumstances. Tombstone. Lonnie Lincoln seems to have been a fighter since he was a teenager, giving him an advantage over characters like Dr. Octopus and Norman Osborn, who only learned to fight after getting their abilities. He was a school bully and has been a serial murderer since he was a youngster. As a supervillain, he is extraordinarily strong, capable of lifting around 6 tons, and has superhuman stamina and longevity, enabling him to battle for an extended period of time. He is an expert in both hand-to-hand fighting and guns. Green Goblin. Green Goblin is a character that is comparable to Dr. Octopus. Instead of being a scientist who got weaponry to use as a supervillain, he was an industrialist businessman who became infected with a drug that led him to lose his mind while also granting him super strength and endurance. Though Green Goblin suffered a mental breakdown as a result of the serum, he was able to study martial arts, which he used to great effect. When Osborn uses the formula, he has superhuman strength and can smash items like wood panels, metal, and more. While on the formula, he can lift up to 9 tons. His strength was dramatically increased as Iron Patriot, with a capacity to lift 100 tons. Dr. Octopus. Doc Ock is arguably one of the first villains that springs to mind when you think about Spider-Man enemies. Dr. Octopus wasn't always a strong fighter. He was an out-of-shape scientist who had probably never fought in a fair battle in his life. Doc Ock was still a novice in combat when he first met Spider-Man, lashing out and attacking with his arms while attempting to flee. Years passed, and as Dr. Octopus depended more on his tentacles, he discovered what they were capable of. Dr. Octopus became an excellent combatant as a result of his years of experience with them, understanding how to weaponize these instruments to their full potential. He'd lose battles against almost every hero or villain he came up against. He does, however, have his 4 tentacle arms, which are where his strength originates from. Each arm is believed to have a lifting capacity of 6 tons. Doc Ock's other 2 limbs could combine for 24 tons of total force if he had 2 arms on the ground to support him. Scorpion. Mac Gargan is the Scorpion, a man who decided to undergo an experimental surgery that gave him scorpion-like skills, but also changed his DNA and turned him into a deranged monster. The Scorpion's abilities granted him extraordinary reflexes, agility, durability, endurance, speed, and strength, similar to Spider-Man's. He had little to no training before becoming the Scorpion, but after learning his abilities, he is shown to be a powerful opponent and be able to lift roughly 15 tons, enough to uproot and wield a tree as a weapon. Despite his battle training being secret, he has proven to overcome anybody he fights and seldom breaks a sweat in a skirmish, even when up against a super-powered opponent. His innate superpowers combined with his near-invincible combat abilities made him the finest fighter of all Spider-Man foes.